Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham. He joins us from Germany, where he is attending the Munich Security Conference. Sir, I want to get right to this conversation my colleague Scott Pelley had on 60 Minutes with former acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe, where he described a conversation about the 25th Amendment, the mechanism through which to push the president out of office. And he said it was brought up to him by the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein.
A discussion of the 25th Amendment was simply Rod raised the issue and discussed it with me in the context of thinking about how many other cabinet officials might support such an effort.
Rosenstein was actually openly talking about whether there was a majority of the cabinet who would vote to remove the president.
That's correct. Counting votes or possible votes.
What seemed to be coursing through the mind of the Deputy Attorney General was getting rid of the President of the United States.
Well,
one way or another.
I can't confirm that, but what I can say is the Deputy Attorney General was definitely very concerned about the President, about his capacity, and about his intent at that point in time.
How did he bring up the idea of the 25th Amendment to you?
Honestly, I don't remember. It was just another kind of topic that he jumped to in the midst of a wide-ranging conversation.
Seriously? I mean,
yeah.
Just another topic?
Yeah.
Senator, that's a tremendous allegation to make. Have you ever asked Rod Rosenstein if, in fact, that conversation happened?
Well, he's publicly denied it, but the whole point of Congress existing is to provide oversight of the executive branch. So through good reporting by 60 Minutes, there's an allegation by the acting FBI director at the time that the Deputy Attorney General was basically trying to do an administrative coup, take the president down through the 25th Amendment process. The Deputy Attorney General denies it. So I promise your viewers the following, that we will have a hearing about who's telling the truth, what actually happened. Mr. McCabe, you remember, was dismissed from the FBI for leaking information to the press, so you got to remember the source here.
There's been some parsing, though, of whether these were extended discussions versus conversations about the 25th Amendment.
Right.
Do you know whether those conversations have taken place?
No, but I think everybody in the country needs to know if it happened. It's stunning to me that one of the chief law enforcement officers of the land, the acting head of the FBI, would go on national television and say, oh, by the way, I remember a conversation with the Deputy Attorney General about trying to find if we could replace the president under the 25th Amendment. We're a democracy. People enforce the law, can't take it in their own hands. And was this an attempted bureaucratic coup? I don't know. I don't know who's telling the truth. I know Rosenstein's vehemently denied it, but we're going to get to the bottom of it. I do know there was a lot of monkey business about FISA warrants being issued against Carter Page, about dossiers coming from Russia that were unverified. Mr. Mueller's going to look at the Trump campaign, as he should, to see if they violated any laws during the 2016 election. And I'm going to do everything I can to get to the bottom of the Department of Justice, FBI behavior toward President Trump and his campaign.
But by even framing it as you just did there, Senator, are you concerned that by investigating the investigators, you are adding to some damage of the credibility of the FBI?
Quite the opposite. If it happened, we need to clean it up. The FBI has gotten off track in the past. It's one of the greatest organizations in the world. The Hoover years have proven to be pretty dark periods for the FBI, the latter part of the Hoover days where politicians were being blackmailed. There's no organization beyond scrutiny. There's no organization that can't withstand scrutiny. And the FBI will come out stronger, but we got to get to the bottom of it. What are people to think after they watch 60 Minutes when they hear this accusation by the acting FBI director that the Deputy Attorney General encouraged him to try to find ways to count votes to replace the president? That can't go unaddressed, and it will be addressed. That's what oversight is all about.
Will you subpoena McCabe and Rosenstein to appear?
How can I not, if that's what it takes? I mean, you're doing your job. The First Amendment allows you to ask questions of the most powerful people in the country. I know he's selling a book. And we need to take with a grain of salt maybe what Mr. McCabe is telling us. But he went on national television and made an accusation that floors me. You know, I can imagine if the shoe were on the other foot, we're talking about getting rid of President Clinton. It'd be front page news all over the world. Well, we're going to find out what happened here, and the only way I know to find out is to call the people in under oath and find out, through questioning, who's telling the truth, because the underlying accusation is beyond stunning.
I want to play another clip from that interview for you.
What was it specifically that caused you to launch the counterintelligence investigation?
It's many of those same concerns that cause us to be concerned about a national security threat. And the idea is, if the president committed obstruction of justice, fired the director of the FBI to negatively impact or to shut down our investigation of Russia's malign activity and possibly in support of his campaign, as a counterintelligence investigator, you have to ask yourself, why would a president of the United States do that? So all those same sorts of facts cause us to wonder, is there an inappropriate relationship, a connection between this president and our most fearsome enemy, the government of Russia?
Senator, you voiced support for the Mueller probe in the past. Listening to what McCabe just described there, a troubling pattern of behavior that he, as a lifetime investigator, saw as a troubling fact pattern, led him to open a counterintelligence investigation into the President of the United States. Can you understand why he came to that conclusion?
I can understand that the American people will get an answer to the question from Mr. Mueller. What I can understand is why Mr. McCabe would meet with Page and Strzok to discuss their hatred for President candidate Trump, talking about taking an insurance policy out in case the election went different than they want. So Mueller will tell us about what Trump did or didn't do. I'm going to tell the country about McCabe and the people at the Department of Justice and how they behaved. Did they take the law in their own hands? Did they abuse the FISA warrant process because they had a political agenda? Did their hatred of Trump go so far that they abandoned their role of being law enforcement agents and become advocates for a political cause? We're going to get to the bottom of that.
But you recognize there that McCabe is laying out the grounds of what he saw as an obstruction of justice attempt.
Mr. Mueller will look at that, but I think McCabe, Strzok, and Page had a political bias, a political agenda, and I find it odd that the dossier that was used to get the warrant against Carter Page, prepared by a foreign agent paid for by the Democratic Party, that they knew to be unreliable, was used on 4 separate occasions to get a warrant. And I want to know why Comey told the president, here's the dossier, we've got it, we can't verify any of it, we want you to know about it. And that same document was used by the FBI and the Department of Justice under oath to tell the court, this is reliable information, give us a warrant based on this document. I hope your viewers understand that the rule of law works both ways. Somebody's got to watch those who watch us. And I intend to watch what McCabe and his crowd did during the 2016 election.